Let's all do something good today.
Hey y'all, welcome to Dad Does Dinner. Tonight we're doing my favorite meal. It's steak night. Behind the camera I got Medium P. A couple of years ago my older son Sawyer was really into rap music. We decided we all needed rap names. So Sawyer, he became Big E Head. He's got a rather large head. Peyton, he became Medium P. We figured there was a lot of big and littles out there, and we thought, Medium P, that's unique, and so is Peyton. And then of course they dubbed me Heavyweights, probably because of my slim girlish figure. So steak night. So in order to prep for this, there's a few things I want to go ahead and get going. We're gonna have steaks, baked potatoes, broccoli with cheese sauce, and French bread with roasted garlic butter. So the first thing I want to do, I want to go ahead and get my garlic going. So I got a nice head of garlic here. I cut off the top. I'm going to drizzle it with just a little bit of olive oil and a pinch of salt, and then loosely wrap it. I'm going to put it in my toaster oven, 350 degrees for about 40-45 minutes. I'm also going to go ahead and get some bacon going. Bacon's going to be a topping to our wedge salad. So this bacon's a little bit thick, so it's probably going to take 20 to 30 minutes at 350 degrees in the oven. And now we're going to get the steaks ready. So you probably noticed in the last 10 to 15 years, meat prices just keep steadily going up. That's because the demand of beef has gotten so high that it's really putting some pressure on the supply. So the beef in this country over the past 100 years has really gone through a lot of flavor change. 100 years ago, the majority of cattle were bred and fed on grass from birth until they're processed. Now we finish them in feedlots, and the last few months of their lives they're spent eating grains. So what this has done, it's created a much more milder tasting beef. And also they're fed a lot of corn. Corn's high in calorie and low in nutrients, and thus our meat has become fattier and not as healthy for us as it would have been if it were just fed on grass. We're seeing more and more availability of grass-fed meat as the demand for it comes back. You can definitely order it online. If you get a chance, try some Argentinian grass-fed. It's really got a different kind of flavor than we're used to. It's fairly intense. We might identify it as a gamey flavor. And you know, some people who are used to good old mild-tasted American beef, they might not find it very pleasant, which is kind of too bad. You know, because of that, you know, we don't eat a whole lot of great-tasting meats like venison or goat or wild hog in this country because we're not used to that gamey flavor, when really that's great meat. So I'm seasoning these steaks with Montreal steak seasoning. So I like to do this at least an hour ahead. That gives the seasoning time to start to penetrate into the meat, and also it takes the chill off the meat. I like the meat to be as close to room temperature as possible. That way you have less transfer from cold to hot, which kind of ends up steaming the meat if the meat is too cold, and it just gives it a different texture. Now certainly I've taken them right out of the fridge and thrown them straight on the grill before, and you end up with a good flavored steak. But the best way to do it is to get your meat close to room temperature. What we like best around here are oven baked potatoes. You drizzle them with a little bit of olive oil, hit them with a little bit of salt, and just roll them up. So I've got my potatoes all wrapped up. I put them on a sheet pan. I have found that every now and then some olive oil finds its way out of the foil wrap, and it'll make a mess in the oven if you don't do it on a sheet pan and you get a little leakage. These will take about an hour at about 375 degrees. So after 20 minutes at 350, the bacon is perfect. And now I'm gonna put in our potatoes. All right, our bacon's cooled off, and I'm gonna give it a rough chop. And then we're gonna soak this bacon in some maple syrup, and this is gonna go on top of our wedge salad. Talking about the beef industry reminded me of a job interview I had for a community college in Dodge City, Kansas. You know, Dodge City is a small, charming town, known for its historical significance in the Old West. What I didn't know till I got there was that Dodge City has one of the largest meat processing plants in America. But when I learned about that from one of the people on the hiring committee, he said that When the wind blows just right, they get what they call Dodge days, where you can actually smell the cattle and everything they do from the meat processing plant. Well, one of the days I was there was indeed a Dodge day, and when I smelled that, I thought, oh, my wife sure isn't gonna like this. Needless to say, I turned down that job. So we're gonna cover this bacon with maple syrup, and we're gonna let that soak for just about an hour. All right, and now we're gonna dice up some tomatoes, and we're gonna soak those in buttermilk, and that'll also go on top of the wedge salad. So we got all our tomatoes diced up, put them in a bowl, and I'm just gonna cover these with buttermilk. And I want this to sit 30 minutes to an hour, just let the buttermilk start to really get into the tomatoes. And homemade blue cheese dressing is super simple. We start with about a 1/4 cup of mayonnaise, and we want to add to that about a 1/4 cup of sour cream. Add to this, I add a good amount of blue cheese. This is probably a healthy 1/2 cup. To that, I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of buttermilk, and then the juice of 1/2 a lemon. The lemon brings a real brightness and acidity to it. Pinch of salt, maybe 1/4 teaspoon, a few grinds of pepper. Mix this up till it's smooth and creamy. And you also want this to sit for 30-45 minutes so these flavors really come together. All right, now we're gonna put together the cheese sauce for my favorite side vegetable dish, which is broccoli with cheese sauce. So right here, I've got cubed up 6 ounces of 2% Velveeta. We use 2% Velveeta because we found that the 2% is not as salty as the full fat Velveeta. I also have here about 2 tablespoons of cream cheese, a tablespoon of butter, and maybe a tablespoon and a half, 2 tablespoons of 1/2 and 1/2. Now we're gonna put all this in a bowl, and here's a tip. We're gonna put this in the microwave. So I spray that with cooking spray to keep that melted cheese from sticking to the sides. I'm gonna microwave it for probably about 3, maybe 4 minutes, but I'm gonna check it every minute and give it a stir as we are doing that. All right, our garlic is done. I've cooled it a little bit. It's just starting to turn that caramel color. I'm gonna put it into a different bowl. Look how it just comes out so nicely. And I put it in a separate bowl so I don't get any of this garlic skin in with the butter. So I'm gonna add the roasted garlic to my softened butter, along with a couple of tablespoons of chopped fresh parsley. This looks really pretty once it's all done. And then, maybe a 1/4 to 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And then we just mix this up till it all comes together. So my roasted garlic butters come together, and I like to use a spatula, a rubber spatula for this. Take about 1/2 of it, put it on one side of the bread. This is fresh French bread from our local H-E-B. I love H-E-B. You want to do both sides of the bread. And once you get both sides done, you just put it back together. And then I wrap it up in my extra thick and wide Kardashian foil. And this is gonna go in a 350-degree oven for about 20 minutes. The potatoes have been in for about an hour, so I'm gonna check them. You just check them by putting it in a knife. The knife should easily go in, and they do. So these potatoes are done. And now the bread goes in the oven. We're gonna get our charcoal going now. I use oak lump charcoal. It burns hot and fast. This is a gorgeous spring day in the Houston area. We get teased with just a few of these in springtime, and then we get our 90 degrees, 90% humidity, and it's hot and sticky like a vegan's armpit.
Okay.
I like to finish my steak with some steak butter. And so in here I've got a stick of butter. I'm gonna add to it a sprig of rosemary I just clipped out of the garden. And then I'm gonna smash 1 section of garlic. Put this in the pot, and this is gonna go at low heat for about 10 minutes. And we want that garlic to just start to brown, and then we will take it off the heat. I'm gonna go ahead and dump these coals out.
Money shot.
I got 2 zones here. If in case I have flare-ups, I can move the steaks off the flare-up. So I'm gonna put these on, and I'm gonna stay out here with them. So Sawyer's a fan of the New York strip. I like the ribeye. My favorite's a bone-in ribeye. Sawyer and Amanda don't like all the marbling and the fat that's in the ribeye. They don't like that nice unctuous feel you get when you bite into ribeye fat. The tenderloins, that's for Amanda and Peyton. Amanda's favorite is the tenderloin. So I'm going to put these on. I'm going to cook mine and Sawyer's. We like ours to the rare side of medium rare. Amanda likes hers to the medium side of medium rare. Peyton really doesn't have a preference. Peyton's not much of a steak eater, and that kind of makes me question the fact if he's really my son. Now mine and Sawyer's will take about 2 minutes per side. Now an easy way to check the doneness of the steak is use your hand. Your relaxed hand, press right there, that's rare. Squeeze it real tight, that's well done. So I make a light fist, and that right there tells me it's about medium rare. So I want to get a nice char on these steaks, but I don't want it to burn. So I want a deep mahogany brown on these. All right, these have been going for almost 2 minutes. I want to take a look. And see, that's a really good color there. Now with these tenderloins being so thick, I'm actually going to cook these on all sides of it. So I'm going to put that up on its side. All right, so these have been going about 4 minutes, getting a lot of flare. That's a good color. I'm going to move it off of the direct heat. I'm going to give that a test. Yeah, that's still really rare. By covering it, I get that nice smoky flavor. So on the steak butter, that's exactly what you want your garlic to look like. All right. So those steaks are done. They're rare to medium rare. I'm going to pull them off. I want to rest these for 10 minutes at least, maybe 15 minutes. Amanda's are looking real good. Still on the rare side. She does not like rare meat. As these rest, I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of this finishing butter. Now we'll cover it loosely with foil. So those feel done. Remember, as the steak rests, the juices reset themselves into the steak. If you cut into it right now, you're going to lose all your juices. And also, they're going to continue to cook a little bit. Now I'm going to steam up some broccoli real quick. This is 2 grounds of broccoli and about a 1/4 cup of water. Turn that up to high. Let that water boil, start to boil, then I'm going to cover it. Add a little salt. All right, so here we have our iceberg wedge of lettuce. I'm going to take some of the tomatoes and buttermilk, and then I'm going to take some of this dressing, and now we take some of our maple bacon. Get a good look at that. And now let's give it a taste. So that's cold, crisp iceberg lettuce, along with the sweetness of the tomato that has just a little bit of acidity from the buttermilk, the sweet and salty bacon, and all in that luscious blue cheese dressing that you made yourself. I'm gonna get the cheese sauce started. Remember, we're gonna do that 1 minute at a time. This is after 3 minutes. You see how it's nice, smooth, and creamy. I'm just gonna put that right on the broccoli. All right, let's take a look at these steaks. So these have rested nicely. Take a look at the ribeye. Oh, that looks just perfect. That's a nice medium rare. The New York strip on the rare side of medium rare, just the way Sawyer likes it. And then we'll do the smaller of the 2 tenderloins. Oh, that's just perfect. That's a perfect medium. I'm gonna try a bite of this ribeye. It's tender, juicy. The finishing butter just adds another layer of flavor and juiciness. This is really good. You know, these are really weird times right now, and we really need to be looking out for one another. I was encouraged today when I went to the grocery store, and somebody stopped me just to talk, to see how I was doing. It made me feel so good. So do something good for somebody else today. Be kind to somebody. Have patience. Have love for one another. We'll see y'all next time.
Yo, crew. Medium P here. Shout out to Mike and the crew at One Arm Brew and Barbecue, home of the all-you-can-eat endless sausage platter.
Oh, won't you hear me, people, when I say, well, let's all do something good.